We had guns everywhere. There was virtually no regulation. Any child in the 50s could buy a weapon from any seller if daddy sent them with the money.
Let's be honest, right out of the gate, this hearing was supposed to be another routine moment where Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez delivers her usual script, the cameras roll, the sound bites get clipped, and everyone goes home believing nothing really changed. You've seen it 100 times. The same talking points, the same villains, the same emotional appeals, but this time, something went off script, and if you care even a little bit about facts, history, or just basic logical consistency, what happened next is worth talking about. Before we jump in, real quick, if you like hearing debates actually broken down instead of spoon-fed narratives, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let YouTube know you want more of this. We just launched, and your support is how this grows. Alright, let's get into it. AOC came in confident, very confident. She spoke the way someone speaks when they believe the debate is already over, and the other side just hasn't accepted defeat yet. According to her, there's no conversation about gun violence in places like New York City or Chicago without blaming states like Indiana, Florida, Georgia, and Ohio. She leaned hard into the so-called iron pipeline.
Let's talk facts here. There was a lot of discussion about New York City. There is no discussion about gun violence in New York City without discussing the iron pipeline that is Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and honorary mention to Ohio, where 70% of likely illegal trafficked guns found in New York City come from. There's no discussion about gun violence in Chicago without talking about Indiana. Because the violence and the mothers that we have to comfort are losing children due to the guns and the carnage and the lawlessness unleashed by those states. I move on. Every week in recent memory, we have had at least one mass shooting.
The whole emotional checklist was there. But here's the thing, no one said mass shootings are normal. That's a straw man. A convenient one, but still a straw man. Saying something is evil doesn't automatically mean you understand why it's happening or how to stop it. And that's where her entire argument starts to unravel. Because when you actually look at the facts, the story gets a lot more complicated and a lot less comfortable. Take Washington, D.C., one of the strictest gun control jurisdictions in the country. Yet an Afghan refugee, someone who legally could not own a firearm, still managed to carry out a violent attack against National Guard members. So what happened there? Was Indiana responsible for that? Was Florida? Or did a determined individual simply ignore the law? Here's the uncomfortable truth no politician likes to admit. Criminals don't follow laws. That's literally what makes them criminals. You can ban, regulate, restrict, and legislate until your pen runs out of ink. But intent doesn't disappear because Congress passed another bill. We see this globally. In Europe, where gun ownership is tightly controlled, violent attacks don't vanish. They just change weapons, knives, cars, acid, homemade explosives. Canada, same story. The problem doesn't disappear, it adapts. Because the issue isn't the tool, it's the person holding it. But AOC didn't stop there. She pivoted, smoothly, I'll give her that, to the NRA and gun manufacturers.
For context, the NRA spent about $250 million in 2020 alone. That's more than twice the entire salary of Congress combined. In 1 year, lobbying against gun safety laws. There's also this discussion about anything but a gun, but that these are about violent people, but yet we aren't doing anything about addressing the actual root causes of misogyny, where 2/3 of mass shootings are connected to domestic violence, or the emergence of white supremacy radicalization, mass incarceration, and poverty, and the connections between that and mass shootings in our communities. I yield my time.
A sitting member of Congress lecturing anyone about donor influence is like a professional gambler warning you about the dangers of casinos. Because while AOC loves to talk about small donors, she still benefits from the same system she claims to despise. Split donations, executive contributions, hedge fund money chopped into digestible chunks so it looks clean. That's not unique to her, that's Washington. Everyone has someone to keep happy, pretending otherwise is political theater. Then she tried to broaden the argument. Domestic violence, white supremacy, misogyny, poverty, mass incarceration, all serious issues, all worth discussing. But notice what happened. The argument drifted, everything became connected to guns, yet nothing concrete was proposed that would actually stop violence tomorrow, next month, or next year. And then, finally, someone cut through the fog. Enter Klay Higgins. When Higgins took the floor, the tone shifted. No buzzwords, no moral grandstanding, no pre-written viral moment. He did something radical in modern politics. He talked about history. He took everyone back to post-World War II America, a country of 140 million people, 15 million men returning home from war, men who had seen death up close, men trained in violence, men surrounded by weapons. Guns were everywhere.
I'm gonna bring us back in time to World War II. America's population, 140 million. 15 million American men came home from World War II with deep scars and significant skills. They bore the invisible wounds of war. And there was weapons everywhere. We'll talk about mental challenge. My father was one of those men who was a Navy pilot in World War II. He came back from the war and built his family. I'm the seventh of his 8 children. I was born in 1961. We had guns everywhere. There was virtually no regulation. Any child in the 50s could buy a weapon from any seller if Daddy sent them with the money. We didn't have mass shootings. It wasn't until 1968 in America that serial numbers were even required on weapons sold in this country. You order weapons through the Sears catalog by the mail.
Higgins didn't blame inanimate objects. He pointed to cultural decay, the erosion of responsibility, the collapse of accountability, repeat offenders cycling in and out of the system, media glorification of killers, violence turned into entertainment, political tribalism so intense that people quietly cheer if the right side gets hurt. And then he dropped a line that should haunt anyone paying attention. He talked about restoring old houses, homes built a century ago in American cities. No locks, no deadbolts, no security systems, no locks. Think about that. A time when people trusted their neighbors, when communities enforced norms without needing surveillance cameras on every corner, when crime wasn't something you planned your life around.
Exactly how that house was originally built. And to my amazement as a young man, beginning college in Louisiana, working, to my amazement, you know what I discovered, Madam Chair? You know what these houses did not have that were built 100 years ago in cities in America? You know what they did not have, Commissioner? Locks. Locks. Now I ask you all, what happened to that country, man? A country where homes were built in cities with no locks. A country where guns were everywhere and virtually not regulated at all. Where millions of Americans, 14 million Americans came back. It's 11% of the population at the time after World War II with incredible skills of war and weapons of war, as you called them, everywhere. But we didn't have mass shootings. And here we sit today where an entire once proud Democratic Party is presenting unbelievably unconstitutional laws.
You can confiscate every legal firearm tomorrow, and it wouldn't fix what's broken. Prohibition proved that nearly a century ago, alcohol didn't disappear. It went underground, organized crime flourished, violence increased. The law created the very chaos it claimed to prevent. The same pattern plays out over and over. When something is demanded and banned, black markets fill the gap, criminals adapt, law-abiding citizens lose options. And yet, every time tragedy strikes, the same playbook gets dusted off. More laws, more restrictions, more speeches, zero accountability for whether the last round of legislation actually worked. That's the frustrating part, not the disagreement. Disagreement is healthy. It's the refusal to engage with reality, the unwillingness to admit that intent, culture, and enforcement matter more than symbolism. No one is saying violence isn't real. No one is dismissing victims, but pretending that one constitutional amendment is the root of all evil isn't serious policy making. It's ideological comfort food. And maybe that's why Higgins' words hit so hard. He didn't just criticize policy, he challenged a worldview, one that assumes people are powerless, morality is outdated, and freedom is dangerous. Because if you believe that, then of course the solution is control, more rules, more enforcement, less trust, less liberty. But history tells a different story. A freer America once handled more guns with less violence. A more restricted America struggles with chaos despite endless regulation. That contradiction should spark curiosity, not denial. So here we are, two visions colliding in the same room, one rooted in emotion, profit narratives, and political identity, the other rooted in history, culture, and uncomfortable questions. You don't have to agree with Higgins on everything, you don't have to reject every gun law, but you do have to admit the conversation is broken, and pretending otherwise isn't helping anyone. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think culture matters more than legislation? Can laws fix moral collapse? Or are we chasing the wrong solution entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you found this breakdown useful, hit like, subscribe for more debates like this, and share it with someone who still thinks this issue is simple. Because it's not, and the sooner we admit that, the sooner we might actually fix something.